Now, normally when you see an Accelerate presentation, the presenter isn't always holding a violin. But would you believe that this small instrument can be incredibly expensive to learn? In fact, for most private lessons, they can cost an average of $29, which doesn't even include the cost of maintenance, the cost of repairs or rentals, or the cost of buying materials. However, it seems that music education can be one of the most important things when it comes to high schoolers overall, whether it be for stress reduction or just as a fun hobby. But often, because of the high cost of learning an instrument, it can be very difficult to enjoy those kind of benefits, which leads us to consider an important question. How can people who simply don't have the financial resources enjoy the benefits of music education? Now, this is where our pitch comes in, introducing Uke Can Do It, which is essentially a creative idea that brings in the ukulele instrument in order to foster a greater musical community as well as a music environment throughout Greater Cleveland. But before I go too far, let me introduce myself. My name is Aditya Kalahasti, and I'm a high school junior who currently learns the violin as well as the drums. And unfortunately, my co-presenter, Ananya Kalahasti, could not be here because of travel restrictions at her university because of COVID-19. But after introductions are out of the way, let's take a look at some context. Now, in the Greater Cleveland area, specifically the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, they've been facing enormous budget cuts in the past few years, with that brunt particularly falling on arts and music's budget. In fact, in 2021, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's estimated that the Cleveland Metropolitan School District could lose up to $21 million worth of revenue, the most of which will fall pretty heavily on the arts and music budget. But after taking a look at the problem, let's consider the solution. Once again, Uke Can Do It, which seeks to foster a music environment based around the teaching of the ukulele. Specifically, our organization will teach young high schooler students how to play the ukulele. Specifically, because the ukulele is an incredibly cheap and easy instrument to learn. In doing so, we would also involve local artists as well as local musicians in order to help them with their financial burden because of COVID-19, upon which in the program we would offer a small stipend. Additionally, by involving both musical artists as well as high schooler students, this fosters a creative environment that is overall beneficial in many ways for high schoolers, especially because music education has been linked to numerous benefits, whether it's better mental performance, reduced stress, or overall simply having a fun hobby. And if there's one thing the past year has taught us, it's the importance of a nice hobby or a stress-reducing activity. But after talking about the details, let's talk about the first steps. Now, the first steps of this pitch would specifically be to contact local artists as well as organizations and involve their help in the activity. We're always looking for local artists as well as musicians who can aid us in our efforts. Additionally, because COVID-19 has pretty much ruined the music industry, it's clear that we would also be offering a very small stipend to these local artists as well as music teachers in order to help alleviate their financial burden because of COVID-19. Additionally, after that, we would be reaching out to the Cleveland Metropolitan School District in order to spread word about our mission and also to gain more support amongst high schooler students who are pretty interested in joining our program. Additionally, because of the easiness of the ukulele to learn, high schoolers would be incredibly benefited because even outside of our workshops, they can also continue learning the instrument, whether it's through the internet or whether it's through private lessons that are relatively simple and cheap. However, after looking at the first steps, let's now look at some partners and resources. Now, clearly, as we saw earlier, our partners would primarily be local artists as well as local musicians. However, in additional terms, we would also be reaching out to local schools in order to spread word of our program, as we saw in the preliminary steps of our organizations. However, one additional partner that we would like to partner up with is music shops across Greater Cleveland in order to spread word about our mission and also to buy music materials that would be useful, not only in teaching the ukulele, but also in overall spreading music knowledge. So at this point, you're probably thinking about what can you do to help with this organization. Now, there are two incredibly easy and simple steps you can do that won't really cost you anything. First, you can spread word about our organization. We're always looking for new people to join, whether it's artists, musicians, high schooler students, or even people who are simply learning a casual instrument. Second, you can also spread word of this at local schools and communities. Once again, we're looking for high schooler students or middle school students or even adults to participate in the program, which would overall benefit Greater Cleveland and improve our program and its mission overall. So finally, when coming back to the all-important question, how can students who simply don't have the financial resources enjoy the benefits of music education? It's clear that the way they can do this is to involve themselves in our organization, additionally help us seek funding when it comes to music materials, as well as local artists, and overall help in fostering a greater music environment throughout Cleveland. Thank you.